and introduce a really exciting example of the power of Internet of Things and how it has such an amazing capability to change the world that we live in. But at the same time, how as we do these changes, we have to really start to see these like interesting security challenges. So I'd like to introduce you to Dr. David Armstrong. Dr. Armstrong is the world leader in problems of the diabetic foot. So 10% of the world's population has diabetes. Approximately 60% of diabetics at some point will start to get a condition called sort of a loss of sensation in your feet. You lose sensation in your feet, and when that happens, you're more susceptible to injury. You can cut yourself. And when you cut yourself, you're less likely to actually notice it's cut because you don't have sensation. And so you're more likely to have infections. 20% of diabetic foot infections actually lead to amputation. The 5-year mortality rate of an amputation in the foot, 70%. It's higher than every form of cancer except lung. The healthcare burden in the US alone last year, $17 billion. That's higher than every form of cancer. This is a huge problem. Every 20 seconds, actually, someone loses a limb because of this problem. Dr. Armstrong has dedicated his life, his career, to solving this problem. And he believes Internet of Things is a game changer for this. So I call it the Internet of Feet, because what he's doing is he's using tiny little computers in your shoes or in your socks to detect what's going on there, to hopefully prevent these kinds of wounds from happening. So actually, I have a short video clip where Dr. Armstrong talks about, he calls it smart socks. So let's listen to him for a second.
Smart socks are something we have going on right now, headed up by Bijan Najafi from our crew. And we can measure now angle and base of gait, skin temperature on the bottom of this. We can identify a wound before it ever happens in our area of interest, which is in preventing amputations. So it will not turn into a wound, turn gangrenous, and go into an amputation.
So it's really cool stuff. He really believes this can be a huge change in how we treat and prevent this problem. And so Dr. Armstrong, he's an amazing technologist too. He's a brilliant guy, brilliant doctor, but he's a techno geek to kind of rival all of us in this room. He actually was the first surgeon to do a FaceTime consultation in the operating room. And so he does all these great things with technology, but he also understands that as you generate all this information and send it up into the cloud, it kind of creates this sense of responsibility, a new and pretty dramatic increase in the level of responsibility that he has to his patients. And so I have another clip where he talks about this sort of contract that he has with his patients.
So we're starting to see more data stream in that we, and more importantly, our patients have to have faith in those data even before and after we take action on them to try to help folks. But in order to do that, we have to trust where those data are sitting, and that generates a bit of a social contract, if you will, and I think it's a social cyber contract. And right now, rather than to look to a social contract theorist like Locke or Hobbes 200 or 300 years ago, I think now we're looking to groups like Green Hills Software to write that new social cyber contract to where we can have appropriate threats assessed and where we can act on stuff rather than be paralyzed to thinking about where those data can go if they get into the wrong hands. So it's a really exciting time now because we can merge so much of good quality computer engineering with good quality doctoring with our patients.
So I really love that term, social cyber contract, because it's true. I mean, so he has to have this contract with his patients, and we have to have it with our customers. We have to provide them the right kinds of technologies, tools to help them get their jobs done. And more often, you're going to start seeing, I believe, a demand for not just the coolest secure operating system or the best tool to solve your problem, but expertise like vulnerability assessments, consulting to help people analyze their systems, independent expert validation to overall build smarter and more secure things.